was saying, the switchers community is a community of green entrepreneurs. So in the switchers talk, what we do is gather all of this community in this event to discuss about what's going on in the community right now, the financial opportunities, access to market opportunities, and also for fostering some networking connections. So also let me talk about what's the switchers community. The switchers community was born under the framework of the SwitchMed program at Medwaves with the switcher support program, in which we give technical assistance to the green entrepreneurs to start their businesses and also have access to financial opportunities and also access to market opportunities, and to foster the connections, also networking connections with the rest of green entrepreneurs. And we call this the incubation process. And the switchers community is meant to be like a continuation of this incubation process, so they can continue in contact with different green entrepreneurs and exchange their views about all the ecosystem. So yeah, I will give the word to my colleague, Jordi Pont, who's project manager in the SwitchMed program. He's going to talk about a little bit about the switcher support program. And well, thank you everyone for attending this event, and thank you.
Thank you, Marta. So like Marta said, the Switcher Support Program is a program to support green startups in the Mediterranean region in 8 countries, from Morocco, Tunis, Algeria, Egypt, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, and Jordania. So we try to give them support, we mentor them, we give them technical assistance, etc., and we help them to access to the market. So also, I would like to explain to all of you one of our main activities related to the Switcher Support Program, that it's called the Switcher Support National Partnership. So we try to do a partnership with, so Marta will explain like a kind of partnership for the switchers. So I will explain a kind of partnership that we are developing for the BCOs, for the institutions, public, private institutions, etc. So this partnership it's called the Switchers National Partnership. So it aims to help the switchers. So one of their main activities is to mapping the different opportunities that there is in each country related to green and blue economy, entrepreneurs and ecosystem. And in this way, they can guide the different startups to develop better their idea. And also, one of the other activities that they have is they try to find ways to fund the different startups. So then they do webinars, they do assistance to the different switchers. So in this way, it's easier to them to get funds, and they don't have to wait until the end of the program where they is doing an activity to access to the market. So during the activity, they can get funds. So sometimes we find that we have some incubated projects that after 6-8 months, they already have someone that want to help them to raise money to continue with their activity and with their startup. Also, so we did in Tunisia on October, we did a really big meeting with all the partnerships from the 8 countries, because we're trying to see the good practices and the bad practices of each partnership in each country. So we did a gathering, everyone explained their experience, and we try to improve each one. So now also we have been talking about do a regional national partnership. So let's see if we will be able to do this, because everything has been stopped for the invasion of Gaza and all this apartheid that is happening. So the national partnership, we have decided to stop and to see if we will be able to continue it in the future. And yes, this is the national partnership. So the main, the main idea is that instead of doing competition with them, let's collaborate between all of us and let's see if we can help the switchers to raise funds to continue with their idea and to grow up together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordi. Well, now I will give the word to my colleague, Halil Helous, who's the community manager for the Switchers community, and he's been working with the community for a long time. And he's gonna explain us what's happening now in the community nowadays.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I will introduce you to the new updates about the community of switchers. The switchers community is funded by the European Union through the UNEP MAP Mediterranean Trust Fund, and they are operating around the Mediterranean, like you see, mostly southern countries of the Mediterranean, and we are they are providing commercial solution to environmental challenges which are economically viable and socially empowering. They are active in a variety of sectors, energy, sustainable management, waste management, construction, food, agriculture, furniture, sustainable mobility, textile, and tourism. You can see this is the page of our page, switchers.eu, where you can find the switchers stories. We are, throughout 2023, we have been providing resources to this community. This is the website, theswitcher.org. And you can find here a toolbox, the fund, the switcher fund, the community, and policy, open eco innovation, where there is from time to time some challenges, and some industries provide their challenges to be more circular, and startups can apply their innovative solution for that specific challenge. And the product, the switcher product, is the platform that we are going to promote, that we have started to promote already. Those who have their products into the switcher product platform are having some advantages. We are having a special campaign, advertising campaign for them. So I strongly recommend you to have your products on there in that platform. And the achievement in 2023 in terms of community growth, we have reached over 450 switchers. This picture was taken last year in the SwitchMed Connect in Italy, in Rimini. And since then we have the switchers numbers increased, and counting also every day. We have had, as I told you before, a digital campaign for those who have their products into our platform. Since August, for example, we've been running these digital campaigns that showcase the product of some switchers. For example, on the left, you have the Atlas Kasbah, who is in Marrakech. It's an alternative hotel. And Jebra from Egypt, also Saud from Lebanon, on Facebook, on our social media platform. And Bione Matisid Rizopro from Palestine, for example, and many others. The WeMed Award, this year, 3 switchers won the Mediterranean Sustainability Prize, recognizing their innovative and impactful business. We have Earwise, the first prize. Mohamed Maki Maalej is an agri-tech startup creating solution for optimizing water usage and increased crop yields. Green Alafco, Mr. Meheroudir, the switcher, Tunisian switcher, it's a recycling company that integrate waste pickers This is the social impact, and they are using smart technology for aluminum can recycling. And the third one is a BSO. It's Maya Karkour with her company Eco Consulting, Lebanese switcher, and winning the prize for the business support organization category. We'll tell you about some recent happy news during 2023. For example, Green Fashion, our switcher from Egypt, just won $10,000 grant from She's Next competition, and a lot of international visibility, of course. The Green Fashion has also been benefiting from the WeMed Award to 2022-21 with some technical advice, some technical support, and other examples of some happy news. So the Lebanese entrepreneur who provides eco-friendly alternative to plastic products like kitchen wraps, toothbrushes, is now expanding to Tunisia and selling their product in Qatar, Cyprus, and several other countries, including Dubai. They are also just launched Baitu, which is a sustainable loofah kitchen sponge, offering a plant-based alternative to traditional synthetic sponge. Next protein, we have a representative here who is not here now, but he will come. He's also a switcher and also have been benefiting from Prima project, and the Tunisian French company who makes livestock from insects have just received its FDA approval to commercialize its product in the US. They have been also leveraging some funds. The last one was 10 million, over 10 million funds, before the 1 million and before the seed one. And some other news, the tire revolution, George Kassab from Lebanon is a manufacturer of recycled tires to provide material and industrial equipment to many sectors. And now he's expanding his company in Algeria. He's building a new manufacturing company in Algeria to expand in North Africa, his activities. And Staramaki, the Greek switcher, who is making an alternative of plastic straws based on wheat sustainable wheat crop byproducts. And he has been making a collaboration since summer with the giant Nestlé. They make a product, and actually Nestlé is putting his straws, natural straws, inside their product. So they will have a lot of visibility and also access to market, because only those who are eco-friendly and aware about him, they would ask him to buy one of his products. Now it's in the supermarket in Greece. And yes, so we don't have the time slot to tell you all the achievements of I don't know how many hundreds of entrepreneurs. I will finish my slide with this beautiful quote from Staramaki. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. The word is missing an L, sorry for that, but the saying, it's understood. And I just noticed it. And we would like to invite you to join our community through these both platforms, the switcher.org and the switcher.au. We just wanted to say that we are incredibly proud of this, the community of the switchers, and the growth, the overall growth that we have perceived and we are witnessing, and that we are also we remain committed to support you as a green entrepreneur, to foster your connections, to provide you some resources, and also help you accessing markets and funding. That's it. Thank you very much.
Well, so now we invite we're gonna have some switchers and also incubated from the Switcher Support Program to talk about their experience. My colleague Ananda Alonso and Jordi Pont are gonna moderate this session. So please, if you wanna come here and sit there so we can start with that session. And also we have Guglielmo Mazzai, who's online, who will join us too.
So welcome. Thank you for being here. We have a couple of questions. We have a couple. Just one moment. So so we also have a speaker online connected. So we would like, first of all, if you could present a little bit who you are, what do you do, your startup idea, and where you come from, and then we will proceed with 2 questions that it's going to be very easy to answer, and hope that you enjoy.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Miriam Belgesem. I'm from Tunisia. It's okay? Hello.
Hello, hello.
So, hello, everyone. I'm Miriam Belgesem. I'm from Tunisia. I'm CEO and founder of Innovalg. Innovalg is a company for valorization algae to luxury products.
Hello, everyone. I am Layth Al Ahmar. I think I'm the youngest here. I'm 20. I am currently doing my last year in industrial engineering at the German Jordanian University, and I am the founder of InnoMobility Solutions.
Okay, maybe Guillermo, would you like to present yourself? Or if you want, I can ask them the couple of questions and then you present yourself and answer at the same time. Let's do it like this.
I'm here.
Okay, so do you want to present yourself, Guillermo, please?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Guillermo Mazzai. I wasn't able to join in person, but I'm connecting from Beirut. I'm one of the 4 co-founders of Refuse. We're a Lebanese social enterprise. What we do is that we run recyclables collection points where people can bring us their sorted waste. We sell materials to local industries and factories, and we use the revenues we get to give rewards to those who contributed with their waste. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you, Guillermo, for your introduction. So we have a couple of questions that we would like to ask you, and maybe if someone from the public wants to answer, it will be more than welcome. We would like to know which recommendations will you give to someone that just started the incubated phase under the SwitchMed support program, and also if you could tell and explain to us the main takeaway, the main outcome that you got from being incubated for the SwitchMed support program. These are the 2 main questions. So if you could please answer.
Okay. The incubation is this problem allowed me to develop center parts in my project, such as the green business model and the access to market, the access to funds, and to develop also my entrepreneurial profile, to make exchange and network with entrepreneurs from all over the world. So it's a satisfied experience.
Regarding the first question, recommendations, you can find a green idea in every single project out there. For example, my project addresses a social issue, which is mobility. Is this better? Yeah. Okay. So my project addresses people with paralysis. So you're going to be wondering what's the green idea in that. I'll be talking about it soon, but the recommendation is that any idea that you have, you can find a green alternative for it. And for what I got out of the incubation, the outcomes, from the incubation, I was able to have a tech advisory, financial advisory. We came out with a successful income statement and a feasible study. And also, we were able to create our first MVP and prototype.
Well, we have another colleague here now, so he can present himself as well. And then I was asking to them and also to Guillermo that he's online, if you could explain to us the main takeaways that you got from being incubated by Medwave, and if you could tell to us also some recommendations, a recommendation that you will do that you will say to someone that just joined the project.
A lot of questions at once. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I begin by presenting myself, Roseraie. I'm the CEO and founder of Eco Maroc, which is an enterprise that is specialized in ecological construction of houses and infrastructure for rural tourism using mainly local earth. And what we have come up with as an innovation is that we work on two aspects. There is the technical studies aspect, through which we have implemented a new technology that is called the BIM technology, building information modeling, that consists on creating digital models, 3D models, through which we can stimulate the building regarding its thermal performance and mechanical performance. And through this technology, we can come up with plans and conceptions that can adjust themselves regarding all the environmental condition on the sites on which we are working. The second aspect is the construction phase. We have our own teams that are trained and formed regarding all the techniques, the earthen techniques that we use. And we have introduced specifically a new technique called the super adobe technique that consists on substituting the normal formworks using wood and steel by a new type of formwork using polypropylene bag, or what we call the sand bag or the earth bag. This technique enables us to have a lot of advantages compared to regular methods. We have like a first advantage, the flexibility when it comes to the architectural drawing. We can literally execute with earth all the shapes that we can draw on a paper. The second advantage is that we try to exploit at max the thermal characteristics of the material earth, so that we can create buildings that consume a minimum electricity when it comes to heating and cooling. I think that most of you know that if we live in an earthen house, there is this ability of having an inside that is warm during winter and cold during summer, and that is mainly done thanks to the thermal characteristics of this material earth. The third advantage is the cost. When it comes to investing an amount of money into a new building, since we are using local raw materials and we are eliminating the cost of logistics, automatically we can propose a service that is cheaper compared to building using concrete or using wood or steel. Combining all these advantages, we also respect all different regulations that regulate the construction sector, either in Morocco or internationally. And I'm going to talk mainly about two regulation. There is the paraseismic regulation regarding creating structures that are anti-earthquake. And we are talking about the current context, which is the earthquake that hits the region of House nearby Marrakech. Our buildings, even if they are built using earth, they have the ability to be very resilient towards earthquakes. The second regulation is the thermal one. And that's what I've been talking about through using the thermal characteristics of the material Earth so that we can create buildings that are autonomous when it comes to consuming energy and don't necessarily need neither air conditioning or heating. What was the second question? I don't know if I have answered the first question, then we can move to the second question.
No.
Okay. Well, the main takeaway from the SwitchMed community is the community itself. We are a group of people, a group of entrepreneurs that share the same challenges. And I think that one of the things that make the challenges of an entrepreneur very difficult is that we think that we are the only people who are facing those challenges. But when we come as a community, we find out that there are other people who are facing nearly the same challenges. And I think that through creating communication about these difficulties, we can all together work hand in hand in order to solve these problems and go through those difficulties. This is was one of the takeaways, is that the SwitchMed community is a very diverse one. And what makes it more interesting is that it is an international one. And it is also, for instance, I have friends entrepreneurs in Tunisia, I have friends entrepreneurs in Algeria, in Spain, in many countries that are members of this community. And they are like the first ambassadors or the first people that I'm talk to when it comes, for instance, of thinking of scaling the project that I'm working on. If I want an information about the Tunisian market, I go directly to an entrepreneur who is operating there, and he can give me various insights about what I should do and what I shouldn't do, and who are the people that I should be talking to. And this is mainly done through the community. The same thing goes with other entrepreneurs in other countries. On a very personal level, I had the chance to participate in a competition called Eyes on Green. And I won the third prize, which was a prize that will boost the visibility of the enterprise. And I had the chance to collaborate with Moroccan local influencers to produce videos so that we can communicate about the ecodome as a construction process and as a product in the ecological construction. And I won't lie to you, is that I've done a lot of campaigns when it comes to marketing, and I think that the idea behind associating the entrepreneur with a local influencer is more practical, and it can generate more leads than other classical regular methods. So through producing 3 types of videos that we posted on social media, we were capable of generating many leads that later on turn to be reliable clients.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions, thanks, because you explained a lot, so many thanks. I don't know if you would like to explain a little bit more, like he did, about your project, and I think it's a good opportunity to explain, and maybe you can say any recommendation or something, and then Guillermo can share with us his idea. Do you want to start?
So nowadays, for sustainable future, we must think economically and ecologically. Therefore, Innovalc brought together the green economy and the blue economy. In Tunisia, we have more than 20,000 tons per year of marine algae must be evacuated outside the marine lagoons. This why Innovalc solves this environmental problem and valorize these huge quantities of marine algae to luxury products. And now we are in phase of launching our luxury cosmetics products.
Okay, thank you.
In mobility solutions, there are around 250,000 to 500,000 spinal cord injuries per year. 47% of them are tetraplegia or quadriplegia. Tetraplegia or quadriplegia means that people who can only move their necks, they cannot move any other limb. Quadra is from 4, which means that they cannot move their 4 limbs. So the alternatives out there are extremely expensive, from eye gazing to voice control to etc. So we had the idea to create a cheap alternative with a green idea And the idea of being customizable to fit everyone from this community. Our wheelchair is based on head movement, which can be applicable for these type of injuries. And the wheelchair was designed using 3D printing, which means that the material used can be recyclable and has a less environmental impact. That was our idea. And in addition to the battery that we created in the wheelchair can last 3 months per one charge, using other technologies such as friction charging and etc. This was briefly about our wheelchair. And yes, we added both social and green ideas. Thank you.
Okay, shukran. So, Guillermo, are you still there?
Here I am.
Okay, so I give you the floor.
Thank you so much. If I have to give advice on this journey, we joined the SwitchMed community when we were still at the idea stage. And what I would recommend to fellow enterprises at the idea stage is to stop being so visionary as we were, as we all are when we start this journey, and to focus on two key things. So how to spend money to build track record immediately, and also what's the key customer that can generate the proper first lead. One customer that can really shape the company and push to launch your service of our product. And while we were in the Switchers program, we found our first customer. So even if we were at a very small scale prototype, we started immediately trading. We were not generating real revenues, significant revenues, but it was definitely a boost to our operations. So this is what I would recommend.
Okay, thank you, Guillermo. So I would like to say 3 things related to what you just said. So from SwitchMed, as you can see, we support businesses from different sectors. So they have presented different sectors. Also, we give support to business at any stage of the project. So it doesn't mind if you are at the beginning of the project, or you already have an idea, or you already have revenues. And the third question, and the third thing that I would like to say related to today's to the reason that we are here, is that the Switcher community, it's a way to being involved at SwitchMed after being incubated by SwitchMed. So it's a good idea. It's a way to be in contact with your colleagues that have been participating with you, and to know successful stories like they just explained to us, and to be continuing being part of a community that wants to change from the linear economy to the circular economy in the Mediterranean. So thank you, all of you. I don't know if someone from the public or from home would like to ask something to me, to my colleagues, to them. Is there any question? No, there are no questions. Okay, so we can proceed with the next stage of today's event. Ananda, please.
Thank you for this interesting panel. So it was great to hear all the stories from the perspective of the switchers, right? Like what means to be part of the switchers community from an entrepreneur or green SME perspective. Now this session is about access to finance opportunities. We wanted to have a practical session to give an idea of what are the access to finance opportunities right now for all green SMEs, switcher or not. But by the way, we invite everyone to join the switchers community, because at the end, if you're a green SMEs, you're a switcher too. So just why not applying and then having all these benefits of being part of a network, and know, as one of the speakers was saying, you're not alone on this. There are a lot of other people sharing the same challenges. And then another point that I wanted to mention related to access to finance is that there is a gap between the big finance coming from Europe, for example. The EU has a lot of funds for the neighborhood, the big banks like EBRD, but then sometimes they have difficulty to really find the right pipeline of small SMEs to receive these loans. And to me, it's crazy because you have on one side the SMEs with no access to finance and the banks with that they can't find the pipeline. So an idea with the switchers community that we are trying to develop now is to try to really build this pipeline. Like if any of you green SMEs, you are ready to receive investments, like contact us. Like we already have the structure, and one of the slides was the toolbox. We already have matchmaking tool with between investors and switchers, so we can put it into practice. But we just need to see that there is an interest, there is need. We have green SMEs ready for this and interested, and then we will keep working on this. So this is work in progress. So this is just an idea. And now going into the session, I would like to first introduce other access to finance opportunities that we are doing. Oh, please, Mohammed, please join us. We have another speaker here. As you know, this is a hybrid event. So we have people seeing us online, also speakers online and in person. So I will start first introducing other access to finance opportunities within Medwaves, and then I will present our speakers. Okay, just to clarify the confusion, Medwaves is the implementing center, and one of the programs we implemented is SwitchMed, which is EU funded and is finishing soon. And the switcher support programs and the switchers community goes beyond that program, and it's going to continue on time. So the idea is that from different funds and sources, we will keep working on partnerships to sustain this support beyond the SwitchMed program, in case anyone was wondering. So what are the activities that we are working on right now related to access to finance specifically? One of them is the access to finance tool that we have in the switchers.org website. And this is basically like a series of tests, like for self-assessment. So if you're a company, in order to help you identify the right kind of funding that you can access, you can answer these questions, and then it will direct you to a database of funders filtered by country, by sector, depending on your stage of development of your business. So this is one of the things. Another thing is the impact assessment tool that is also helpful when you're building your presentation, your executive summary to contact a funder. This is a tool that allows you to measure your social and environmental and economic impact. And this is very useful because sometimes there are some software that are very expensive and complicated to access, and this is for free. It's already there, and it gives you a way of start having like a baseline and start measuring your progress, and it gives you tips on what to improve. So this is just some examples. And then finally, I wanted to talk about these two new initiatives that we are developing. One is the Switchers Fund, which is an impact investment fund that we want to launch, and we are at the early stage. We are like still assessing in each of the countries because we want to focus on all Mediterranean countries, but specifically in the MENA region. But for that, we have to assess in each country the legal framework, the obstacles, etc. And the idea is to channel funds to reach these green SMEs and switchers that really need it. And to combine that with technical assistance and matchmaking events, and so it will be like a blended instrument, not just funds, but also different kinds of assistance, and partnering with other organizations as well to do like grants at the beginning, then equity, then depending on the stage of development. So the idea is to try to cover all the stages. And then finally, the last initiative that we are working on is the launch of the Mediterranean Observatory for Sustainable Finance. And this is to work with investors and policymakers to try to change a little bit the mindset and try to raise this culture of impact investment in the MENA region, which I think it's also a space where there is a lot of work to do, and we can also partner with other actors to do it. So that's it from our side. I hope some of these initiatives are interesting, and don't hesitate to contact us if you have more questions. And I will give the floor to our great speakers that join us today, starting with Eric Asmar from Happy Smala. So Eric, can you explain what you do and yeah, what this work represents in terms of opportunities, not only Morocco, but in the MENA region?
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. So I'm Eric Asmar. I'm the CEO of Happy Smala. We're an innovation lab with headquarters in Rabat, but activities all over the Mediterranean and increasingly in sub-Saharan Africa. We focus on impact finance and socioeconomic inclusion. Historically, we worked a lot on crowdfunding. So we launched some of the first crowdfunding platforms in Morocco, and we've been involved subsequently in policy work to develop the alternative finance regulation in Morocco and then in other countries. Essentially, we work at 3 levels. So the first is direct support to what we call them impact initiatives, but to social and green entrepreneurs, regardless of, we'll say, their legal status, whether it's a for-profit, nonprofit, etc. So we do direct support specifically on fundraising and business models. We work with support organizations to design incubation and acceleration programs. And then we work at a much more macro level around network building and increasingly on policy advocacy.
Thank you very much. So Mohamed, he's coming from the Prima Foundation. And if you would like to explain us what are your programs right now and what are the funding opportunities for green SMEs in the region?
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks for Medwaves and SwitchMed for the kind invitation to be with you today. I am Mohamed Wagi, Prima Project Officer. We are based in Barcelona. We are a Mediterranean initiatives. It's a joint cooperation between the European Commission and 19 participating states, including Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Jordan, and Lebanon. We are a funding program or a fundraising program supporting the research and innovation. But don't be shocked and don't take like a false impression that, okay, maybe we are not in the right place because you are talking about the research and innovation. So maybe you are dealing more with the academia, with universities and research centers. No, because you cannot have an innovation without having real and active engagement and presence of the SMEs and the private sector. We are launching a call every year, starting from January. So keep watching the Prima channels because within like 2-3 weeks maximum, we will launch the Prima call for 2024 with a total budget around 70-something million euro. And we have a 2-stage of submission. And we have, after 5 cycles, starting from 2018 till 2022, we managed to fund 202 projects with a total investment 286 million. This year, we managed as well to fund more or less around 32 or 33 extra projects with extra financial support for sure, co-funded by the European Commission and by the participating countries. To be eligible to apply to Prima, you are not applying at the single SME, but you are part of a team, which we call it a consortium. So you have a coordinator that can be you, and you have other partners from other countries, from Germany, Spain, France, Egypt, Jordan, and elsewhere in the Mediterranean. You can go to the Prima website and you can check the booklets of the previously funded projects. We are also encouraging the SMEs, especially the green SMEs for sure, in the Mediterranean, in the Prima participating states, to contact the running projects because you can find a lot of potential partnership and collaboration with them. Please put in your mind, and this is my last sentence, that to apply to a program like Prima, for instance, you are not just looking for a fund, but also you are looking for sharing the knowledge, co-creation with other partners elsewhere in the Mediterranean, penetrate or exposed to other markets, access to knowledge, building the capacity of your team and your your staff in your SMEs, because it's always a learning process. We have here in the exhibition an example that a Moroccan SME, he applied like some years ago as a partner in a consortium, and yesterday he received the good news that he have been accepted in the newly funded projects under BRIMA, and he is the coordinator of the project. So he will manage the Mediterranean and the European research team. So this is something we can consider from our side one of the best practice. So as I said, that stay tuned, because within like maybe 2-3 weeks maximum, we will announce the new call of BRIMA 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a very specific example of a funding opportunity. Now we can pass to the online speakers. So I would like to start with Ms. Eva Konskal from Impact Europe, that used to be EVPA, the Europe Venture Philanthropy Association. So let's see if
Hi. Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I actually want to join the club of the EU-funded projects here, in the sense that, you know, both the Medwaves and I mean the Switchers, right, program, but also you mentioned Prima. You're also funded by European Union. So I wanted to introduce to you Impact Together. Actually, I have just a few slides, I think, for you to see what we are doing. And I'm really happy to see Eric from Happy Smala, because Eric is also one of our partners in the MENA region. So basically, let me just do that. So Impact Together, we started in January this year, basically working in Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine. And basically our focus is on 4 building blocks, as you can see here, and they very much relate to access to finance for impact businesses, for social entrepreneurs. And really our main work is around building small impact funds. And this is what we've been doing already in Central Eastern Europe, in farther east, in Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, recently as well, where we have been establishing small impact funds, 3 million euro, sometimes even smaller, to provide financing to impact businesses, to social entrepreneurs, many of them also green entrepreneurs as well. And we basically work with partners like Happy Smala, like Alfanar as well. Alfanar Maya Rahel was supposed to be with us on the panel, but unfortunately she needed to leave. We really work with the local teams to set up those impact funds. We use the EU funding to leverage and mobilize local resources and to mobilize private capital locally from a given country. That's why for us, what is super important is really stakeholders engagement. And we are working with our partners on the ground to bring awareness, to bring understanding, as you can see on the topic of impact investment and how we can deploy traditional capital or traditional way of thinking about investments to support impact businesses. And for us, impact businesses, those are companies that are really set up with an intention to address different social, environmental, economic problems, very broadly, right? And then what we do with the local partners through the stakeholder engagement, and this is just to give you an example, last 2 weeks ago, we actually had our big event in Torino, and we brought to Torino more than 50 diverse stakeholders from the MENA region to join our biggest impact event with almost 1,000 participants. Eric was there, so you can, those people who are there physically in the room, you can ask him how was the event and how did it work. We really believe very much that it's important to connect potential investors from the region with the ones that are already doing this, and that there can be this knowledge sharing and exchange on the topic. We also have elements in our work related to policy and overall strengthening and building the ecosystem for the impact investment. And we have very tailored, also locally designed approach. So we really work closely with our partners on the ground and taking into account what they think about the local conditions and whether there needs to be some support. But we definitely want to also engage with the policy makers and different platforms and entities that are working on building, the overall legislative system for impact investment in the countries. I just wanted to share with you, those are our partners. I put here also our partners from the Eastern Partnership, where we've been doing similar program in the last 3 years. And overall, we've been building such a small impact funds in Central Eastern Europe for the last 10 years. So we have already an experience in doing that. And we have a model that we are trying to replicate where it is feasible and possible. So you can see here all our partners from the Impact Together in the MENA region as well. HIVAS is our regional partner, SILAPS in Algeria, Happy Smala Morocco, Impact Partner Tunisia, Al-Fanar and Root and Bil Palestine in Palestine. So with all those partners, we are actually working on setting up financing vehicles to support those impact entrepreneurs. For example, in Egypt, we are planning to launch an impact fund that will operate and support entrepreneurs in Upper Egypt, because we see that there is also a challenge in accessing a small type of funding. What is really important, I think, is that we are talking about blended finance, and we are really talking about grant funding combined with loans. For us, equity is something, we actually think that equity is a little bit overrated, especially for early stage entrepreneurs. And quite often, loans are a much better and an easier instrument to be applied by small businesses. So we really work around this model that, we use the grant to de-risk the investments. And in this way, we can use grants in a smart way and help companies to grow so that they can be eligible for another type of financial support. We have here all our contacts, links to the website as well. I also encourage you to check our website, where it's still the old name, the EBPA, as you can see. But you can use our website, also the database of the members that is there, because we have quite a few European members that are also working in the MENA region and are looking for opportunities. Sometimes they work through local partners as well. I cannot promise, some of the funds like Al-Fanar, for example, in Egypt, Lebanon, and Jordan, they are already supporting entrepreneurs. So you can check, they work, many of our partners in our project will be developing the funds. I know Impact Partner already announced some competitions and will be looking for proposals and business plans from entrepreneurs. So I encourage you to check the partners, so that you can see what they do and how they work will be progressing on setting up those financial vehicles as well. So I guess that would be all from my side. I don't know if there will be time for any questions. I'm happy to take some. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think we do have time. So I will present maybe the last speakers and then we can get to the questions. But thank you so much for this explanation. It's really clear and we're very excited about this new upcoming project. So the next speaker is Daniel Sorrosal from FEBEA, which is the Federation of European Ethical Banking and Alternative Banking. Is Daniel online? Can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Perfect. Perfect. We can see you and hear you. So, Daniel, could you tell us what FEBEA does, and specifically in the MENA region, how are they promoting impact investment? And yeah, then we will get to the questions.
Okay, so FEBEA is a federation of banks mainly and financial companies. We work mainly in Europe, but a number of our members are active or interested in the Mediterranean. So in a pretty long history already, we've been collaborating with the SwitchMed program and also with Medwaves in a number of ways. And we are trying to somehow create a complementary tool to what Eva was presenting before. So the idea is to have a fund that allows Europeans to channel money through a specific instrument into companies in the Mediterranean area where they would normally not invest because it's out of their country legal system framework or even sometimes legislative remit, by finding a kind of a passage to the Mediterranean. We think we can provide complementary funding, pretty much in the line of what Eva was saying, that can complement, local impact funds. So the idea is not to compete, but actually to complement. This is particularly challenging when you consider the possibility of working in multiple countries because the legal systems are different, etc. So we are at the moment conducting a bit of research on what would be the possibilities for a foreign investor to invest directly into a company in the different countries. So we've started with the first 3, but we will continue covering the others. So it's a bit of a process at the moment, but for the number of years that I've been working with SwitchMed, I'm actually quite impressed about the growth of the switchers community and the quality of the projects that are showcased. And I think this is a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think the more people are interested in supporting those projects, the more funders we will attract. So we have to diversify as much as possible the number of actors that can bring in different ways money to support these switchers, and basically any SME that has a green idea, as one of the previous speakers was saying. So not a lot of news, I would say, but I would say hopeful future in this regard. I don't know if that answers the question, but I mean, I can elaborate more if needed.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yes, very interesting. And yeah, I think the 3 countries you mentioned are Tunisia, Morocco, and Algeria, correct? Yes. So we will be looking forward to the results of this study. Thank you. So let me just try one more time. Maya Rahal from Alfanar, is she connected or not? Because Eva mentioned she had to leave, but...
Yeah, she is not, no, she had to go, yeah.
She's not connected. Okay, so we have more time for questions from the public. That's good. And yeah, as Eva said, we can contact Alfanar through their website. I think we can share it. Her contact details are in the PowerPoint that we can share at the end. So let me go to the main question that I wanted to ask all of the speakers today. I'm sure every speaker has something to contribute in a way. The question is, how can sustainable SMEs, like the ones here today, access impact investment? It's a simple question. Like, do you have any tips, any advice on the key things that they should consider that they need to do when trying to access impact investment? On your experience, on your opinion? Let's start with Eric.
I would say first and foremost, know what it is that you're looking for. In the workshop we did earlier today, we had a whole conversation about this, but understand your objectives, be able to quantify your objectives, whether those are economic objectives or impact objectives, and understand if you're going to fundraise, understand what you're fundraising for. When we work with social and green ventures on designing their fundraising strategies, the first exercise is what are you spending money on? What resources are you trying to mobilize? Because in some cases that will have a very specific impact on where and when you can secure funding. And in some cases, you might discover that you don't actually need to go looking for external funding, and you can bootstrap by making adjustments as to where it is that you're spending the little cash that you might already have. So I would say first and foremost, really have an understanding of what it is that you're trying to accomplish by looking for funds. And it's not just, I need to keep the lights on. Obviously, that's an important piece, but you need to be, I'll say, have a more robust reflection on the topic before you go and talk to funders.
Thank you. Mohammed, what could you share with us?
Okay, let me think about this, but maybe I will wear the hat, another hat of other than BRIMA, that before joining BRIMA, I was working as an applicant applying to the European Commission. And one of our projects, we analyzed more than 1,000 social enterprises all over the world in all continents. And we then go to in-depth analysis of around 88 cases or case examples of them. And we came out with some, let's say, common challenges and drivers and motivations beyond those social entrepreneurs specifically. One of the lessons that we learned that one of the main factors that can support the enterprises or the SMEs to survive and to scale up and out is to diversify the source of income that you will have. The second point, especially we examined this during the time of the COVID, is the dynamism or the dynamic business model that you will have. That's why during this project, we developed what we call it a living business model. So or a living business plan. So you can continuously adjust this business plan, adapted it based on the challenges, the barriers that you are facing. For instance, in the opening yesterday, I remember this gentleman, I think is from the Gulf, maybe from Qatar. I think he mentioned that when he changed his business plan, they in 3 years, they got like revenue more than what they achieved like over 3 years. And they used the time of the COVID to generate more income. So maybe that sometimes, and we used to say this, the time of the crisis is the best moment for creative or innovative ideas and also potential business opportunities. So you can use these challenges that we say, for instance, the devaluation, the fluctuation in our region, the climate change, all these things, this can generate tremendous numbers of business opportunities and potentials for your SMEs. So if you stuck at certain point, don't just close the shop and go to your home, but no, maybe you just need to rethink and open your mind and think out of the box, contact and approach with the others. And this is my last message, which is the networking and the partnership. And this was the idea behind, and now I would wear again back the hat of Prima, which built on the concept of the partnership between the North and South of the Mediterranean, partnership between the public, private, and the policymakers. So yeah, and this is another sort of the diversification that I was mentioning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a great tips from Prima. Yes. I wanted to ask if Mohamed Benani, Mr. Mohamed Benani is online, because I think we have another speaker that could share global insight.
Oui, je suis là. Vous me
Parfait.
recevez?
On peut passer au français, au cas où il y a des francophones dans la salle, et on peut aussi traduire à l'anglais si c'est nécessaire. Je peux faire un petit résumé à l'anglais. Oui, Monsieur Benani.
Merci pour l'invitation. Je suis ravi d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui pour faire une présentation au Centre des très petites entreprises solidaires qui a été lancé par la Fondation Mohamed V pour la solidarité. Comme vous savez, il s'agit d'un centre, un incubateur de référence pour les très petites entreprises solidaires et les porteurs de projets au Maroc. Donc,
Pardon, Monsieur Benani, désolé de vous interrompre, mais est-ce que vous pourriez allumer la caméra?
Oui, oui, bien sûr. Un instant.
Je pense que c'est pour ça qu'on ne peut pas vous voir en ce moment.
Vous me recevez maintenant?
Je pense que ça va. Ah, voilà, oui, maintenant, oui, c'est beaucoup mieux. Merci.
Je partage.
Oui, parfait. Comme ça, on vous reconnaît maintenant. Merci. Donc, oui, continuez. Et après, si vous faites une petite pause, je vais traduire à l'anglais.
OK. Vous me recevez maintenant très bien?
Oui.
C'est bien. Donc, comme vous savez, donc, le Centre des très petites entreprises solidaires a été créé en 2015 suivant les hautes instructions de Sa Majesté le roi Mohamed VI. Il s'inscrit dans l'objectif de la Fondation Mohamed V pour la solidarité de lutter contre la pauvreté en promouvant les très petites entreprises comme l'outil d'insertion socio-économique à travers ces différentes filiales, à savoir le Centre solidaire de l'Oasis à Casablanca, le Centre national Mohamed VI des handicapés Salé et Région, le Centre d'insertion et d'aide par le travail, le Centre Mohamed VI de soutien à la microfinance solidaire, et également le Centre de qualification et de formation dans les métiers de l'artisanat. Et enfin, c'est à Marrakech, vous pouvez les visiter et voir ce qu'il y a des artisans et il y a même des malms. Donc, je vous laisse pour la traduction et on passe au Centre des très petites entreprises solidaires, la filière de la Fondation Mohamed V.
Merci. So Mr. Banani just presented the framework where they work. He's representing the center of a very small solidarity companies, and they are within the Mohammed V Foundation that was created by the King of Morocco to fight poverty by supporting these very small social companies. Et Monsieur Benani, si vous pouvez juste brièvement adresser la question pour les entrepreneurs verts. Comment est-ce que vous pouvez les soutenir dans les cadres de l'accès au financement?
Donc, les entrepreneurs ou les entreprises vertes, c'est la mission principale du Centre des très petites entreprises solidaires, de contribuer à l'émergence d'une génération d'entrepreneurs au Maroc, quelles que soient les entreprises vertes qui visent à promouvoir l'entrepreneuriat grand public et à soutenir et accompagner les porteurs de projets verts en situation qui souhaitent réaliser leur rêve entrepreneurial par la création de petites entreprises. Le dispositif d'accompagnement de centre des très petites entreprises solidaires offre un soutien complet aux entrepreneurs allant de la phase initiale de l'idée jusqu'à la phase de développement et de croissance de leur entreprise. On trouve les ateliers de production représentent une part essentielle du dispositif d'accompagnement du Centre des très petites entreprises solidaires. Il offre aux jeunes entrepreneurs un espace physique pour développer leurs idées et tester les produits ou services, établir les premières bases de leur entreprise. En plus des ateliers de production, le centre offre également des programmes de formation aux entrepreneurs verts. Ces formations couvrent une gamme de sujets essentiels à la réussite entrepreneuriale, notamment le développement de business plan vers la gestion financière, le marketing et bien d'autres formations. Et il vise à renforcer les capacités des entrepreneurs et à leur donner les outils nécessaires pour développer les entreprises avec succès. Le soutien logistique offert par le centre revêt une importance capitale pour les entrepreneurs verts, leur permettant de se consacrer pleinement au développement de leur entreprise sans être surchargés par des tâches administratives. Le centre propose également un service de bureau. Il s'agit d'un espace de travail professionnel et bien équipé où les entrepreneurs peuvent travailler, organiser des réunions et des rencontres. Enfin, ce qui est plus important, le centre facilite la mise en relation entre les entrepreneurs et divers acteurs clés tels que les investisseurs, les mentors, les fournisseurs et les clients potentiels. Cette mise en relation est cruciale pour le succès des entrepreneurs. L'accompagnement offert par le centre est un processus complet de bout en bout qui s'étend sur une durée de 42 mois. Il est réparti en 3 phases, la pré-incubation de 6 mois, l'incubation de 18 mois et la post-incubation de 18 mois. L'offre de service, comme vous savez, du centre est gratuite tout au long du processus d'incubation. Le processus de recrutement commence par un appel à candidature, l'appel à candidature diffusé sur le site du centre et les réseaux sociaux, LinkedIn, le Facebook, le YouTube, sous le nom du réseau des centres des très petites entreprises solidaires, et ainsi sur ainsi sur sur les sites de nos partenaires, ainsi sur les sites de nos...
Cette diapositive. Est-ce que vous savez des appels à candidature ouverts en ce moment?
Oui, on est à la 8e promotion, donc la candidature, il est ouverte pour accueillir une promotion des entrepreneurs, Inch'Allah, bi'oulillah. Sur le centre des très petites entreprises solidaires de Fès, on peut accueillir la 4e promotion à partir de l'année prochaine, janvier prochain. Donc, le processus de recrutement, donc on fait des affiches. Les critères d'éligibilité pour les candidats comprennent être âgés entre 20 ans et 40 ans, avoir besoin de financement pour le démarrage d'activité, avoir un niveau d'éducation d'au moins le baccalauréat ou lauréat d'une formation professionnelle, avoir un esprit entrepreneurial vert, avoir une idée de projet créatif réalisable. Une fois les candidatures reçues, une commission interne vérifie que toutes les conditions d'éligibilité sont réunies. Les candidats qui passent cette étape sont ensuite soumis à une commission de présélection composée de partenaires et de membres de l'écosystème. Les candidats présélectionnés reçoivent alors des formations de pré-création qui comprennent des modules sur le business plan Canvas, l'étude de marché, le business plan, l'étude financière et l'étude technique. Une fois cette formation terminée, les candidats passent à l'étape de la commission de sélection finale, qui est également composée des partenaires et des membres de l'écosystème. Les candidats sélectionnés à ce stade reçoivent des formations de création et qui incluent les modules sur les formes juridiques de l'entreprise, les démarches administratives de création et la création de dépôts et la gestion de marques. Après la phase de pré-incubation, les candidats sélectionnés seront incubés pour une période de 18 mois. Pendant cette période, ils procèdent à la création de leur entreprise sous la forme juridique société à responsabilité limitée ou bien société à responsabilité limitée associée et unique, et recevront également les ateliers ou l'espace du bureau, ainsi que le matériel nécessaire pour le démarrage du projet. Une fois sélectionnés, les candidats entrent dans une phase cruciale de leur parcours entrepreneurial, c'est l'incubation, la phase d'incubation qui dure 18 mois. Cette période qui s'étend sur 18 mois constitue une étape déterminante dans le processus de création de leur entreprise. Durant l'incubation, le centre met à la disposition des entrepreneurs non seulement l'espace de travail et les ateliers, mais également le matériel nécessaire pour le démarrage de leur projet.
Merci beaucoup, mais je vous demande si c'est possible d'être un peu plus résumé parce qu'on
Oui,
voulait
oui.
laisser aussi plus de temps pour les questions après. Est-ce que vous
Oui,
voulez
cette phase,
finir
donc,
avec...
comme vous savez, la phase d'incubation, c'est une phase de 18 mois. Donc, ils reçoivent une formation, une formation de création, de développement. Donc, on a des rendez-vous de formation post-création, des rendez-vous d'accompagnement, des rendez-vous mensuels pour rencontrer les entrepreneurs et faire le point sur l'activité, des rendez-vous trimestriels, l'organisation des B2B et les rendez-vous semestriels pour l'organisation des journées marché. Comme vous voyez, donc les formations, on fait des réunions hebdomadaires avec les conseillers. Il y a ici la remise des photos. En bref, comme vous savez, on est à la 8e promotion avec 650 entreprises créées et 1200 emplois créés. On est présent sur 4 régions du royaume, sur Casablanca, avec un effectif de 12 personnes permanentes, sur Fès 5 personnes permanentes et Oujda avec 3 personnes. Et actuellement, en inauguration salée avec 9 permanents. Donc, on est présent, comme vous savez, le centre.
Merci
Pardon?
beaucoup. Oui, non, si vous voulez que je traduise, vous allez... vous allez encore des choses ajouter?
C'est bon, c'est bon.
D'accord,
Vous
non,
pouvez-
je vais... Oui, allez-y, allez-y.
Donc, on est présent avec un centre à Casablanca de 51 ateliers et 29 bureaux. Le centre de Fès, 56 ateliers et 25 bureaux. Le centre de Oujda, il est de 30 ateliers et 20 bureaux. Récemment, aujourd'hui, on est s'apprête à accueillir sa première promotion, le centre de Salé, qui est dédié à 100% pour le digital. On organise des vendredis de sensibilisation autour du programme de centre des très petites entreprises solidaires afin d'encourager l'esprit entrepreneurial. Mardin Taylor pour préparer les dossiers d'accélération, de renforcement de l'activité. On organise des journées portes ouvertes à nos centres et également on organise des journées des femmes entrepreneuses solidaires du royaume. Les résultats, les résultats, donc un investissement de 41 millions de dirhams a été réalisé dans le cadre du programme. En retour, les entreprises bénéficiaires ont généré un chiffre d'affaires de 15 millions de dirhams. Ce retour sur investissement, il est significatif et illustre l'efficacité du programme en termes de création de valeur. Le centre a accueilli 8 promotions d'entrepreneurs. On s'apprête à accueillir la 9e promotion, Inch'Allah, le janvier prochain. On a créé 670 entreprises et 1200 emplois. Le réseau de centres des très petites entreprises solidaires se distingue par des indicateurs de performance qui sont robustes, y compris un taux de formalisation de 100%. Et il enregistre également un taux de 100% de souscription à l'assurance, de bancarisation et de déclaration à la Caisse nationale de sécurité sociale. Le centre a réussi à maintenir une pérennité de 95%. Il est important de noter que le taux de pérennité, effectivement, il est de 100%, les 5% restantes étant principalement dues à des raisons personnelles des entrepreneurs, comme des maladies chroniques, des départs à l'étranger ou des problèmes entre les associés. Nos programmes, on a le programme d'insertion par les activités économiques, le programme SwitchMed, le programme du PNUD à travers le projet Ars Atlas et le programme marocain de retour avec le partenariat de la JZ et Maroc PME.
D'accord, merci beaucoup, Monsieur Benani, mais je pense que maintenant, oui, on doit finir parce qu'on n'a plus le temps.
OK.
Mais je vous remercie et on va partager la présentation avec le public au cas où il veut vous contacter. So I'm going to translate briefly what he said. Basically, they offer full support from the idea to the growth stage to all green SMEs, and they offer a physical space where they can test their prototypes, and they do different kinds of trainings. And the most important information, I think, in this case is that they have an open call that you can reach them in social media, and the requirements are to be between 20 and 40 years old and to be in need of access to finance. And then they will support you in all the aspects of the development, so you can create this small social green enterprise. And they have invested this worth 15 million dirham, and they're in the 9th promotion. And they have a very high rate of formalizing all these ideas and sustaining them in time. So we thank him a lot for his contribution, and I hope Moroccan SMEs that didn't know this initiative can join them. So maybe to finalize the session and then open the Q&A session, I wanted to ask Daniel Sorrosal from FEBEA, what would be his tip on how can sustainable SMEs in the MENA region access impact investment?
That makes some sense. I think I would go back to what Eric from Smala was saying, and probably Eva. You need to know what you need. And that's not always the case. I remember having to talk to a number of switchers before, and they were saying, I need capital, I need this, I need that. But those demands were formulated from an instinctive perspective, let's say, more of a wish than a reality. And I think sometimes what you need can be solved by a crowdfunding campaign. Sometimes it can be solved by the right bank. Sometimes it can be solved by the right combination of, let's say, grant and loan. So I wouldn't focus too much on trying to raise equity, because it's often a path that can lead to, let's say, easy disappointment, because the expectations are very high, it's extremely competitive, and sometimes we tend to focus on that and overlook all the possibilities that are already available. I understand that it's not always easy to raise money when you are basically a small company and you're starting, but I would say a combination of things is probably what can get you there, and a certain amount of perseverance, and probably not overlook things that are a combination of debt and loans, because these are things that you control much more than the potential investor who might basically keep you dancing around for a while and in the end maybe not invest. I don't know if this answers the question, but I think it kind of coincides at least what the speakers were saying, because that's probably the more realistic approach. Thank you.
It does. Thank you. It's a very, very interesting advice. I think it was mentioned in the previous session by Irene, no, that sometimes SMEs are scared of the debt, but actually it's a very affordable option, and that sometimes we overlook and we go straight to investors. So it's very good to consider all the options before engaging into one. So I think
and combining them, by the way, not just knowing but also combining. Sorry.
Yes, no, absolutely. No, please, the speakers that are online can intervene whenever they want. So yeah, I think we got the tips, very interesting and useful tips. So I don't know if any more persons present here in the audience want to ask questions to the speakers. Yes, go ahead, Irene.
Daniel, it's Irene Bordedi from Egypt, and it's really good to see you. I think last time we met was in a Switchers conference 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I don't know if you remember me, but it's really good to see you. Actually, I just very quick overview. My name is Irene Bordedi. I manage the MSME department and Chemonic Egypt. And I just want a few numbers in the beginning to show really the potential of the green economy and circular economy, because sometimes we forget about those enterprises in the discussion of impact. Just in the last 5 years, we've worked with 500 enterprises in Egypt and in North Africa who are working on who have circular and clean tech and green business models. And actually, they collectively, in the first 3 years of our support to them, whether it was through technical assistance or access to finance, they generated $1 billion in revenue, which was actually at that time around 0.5% of Egypt's GDP, and this was with 500 companies in Egypt only. So it's not a new sector. I think it's important that we realize this, that these green economy and circular economy subsectors have been around for a while in the region, and it's important that we realize their maturity, even though there maybe is a lot of work to be done. And Switchers has been doing this for at least a decade as well, and there have always been green and circular cases. Another point that's important to mention is that this group of 500 companies that we studied actually leveraged $500 million in investment, and as Daniel mentioned, most were actually through debt or a mix of debt and equity. Another important point is that in the MENA region, I mean, as Chemonics Egypt, we've worked with 6 different banks and MFIs on specialized green financing instruments. So there is also a lot of drive from the financial sector, which is why it was really nice to see this really rich panel that was discussing alternative mechanisms. Like you mentioned, Ananda, blended financing. Eric, you mentioned crowdfunding and maybe other types of funding. Ms. Iwa also mentioned a mix of grants and then also debt, depending on the stage of development. So I'm curious to know 2 things from your perspective. What are some of the missing instruments or the instruments that still need some refinement? Because a lot of the time we talk about blended financing, but no one's really talking about what this actually means. And also, what are some of the investment opportunities or the business opportunities that you see in green and circular economy that you would like to invest in or focus on investing on in the next period? So I guess this is for the 4 investors on the panel.
I think this one works, no? So would you like to start answering?
Okay, thank you so much, Irene, for this very interesting question. Maybe I will share with you one of the main challenges or the barriers that we are facing in BRIMA, but we are trying to solve it in a partnership or in discussion with the participating national funding agency, which is the national regulations, because we keep saying over all conferences and events that I attended over like the last 20 years, bridging the gap between academia and industry and supporting the entrepreneurship. But when we came to the reality and to the access to the grant, no, if you are a profit-making organization, most of the time you are not allowed or you are ineligible to access the governmental money unless it is like a very specialized program like GUSUR, for instance, in Egypt, only for the entrepreneurship. But for instance, if you are an SME and you want to apply to a governmental body or a national funding agency to get a grant to do research and innovation, you are not allowed to do this. And this is really funny. Especially if we consider that when you check the UNESCO statistics, for instance, we can discover that in our region, the investment that the private sector is investing, or the amount of the finance that the private sector is investing in the research and innovation, is the lowest all over the world. So we have shortage in the money. So now when the private sector or the SMEs or big enterprises saying that, okay, I can participate in research projects and even I can do further investment from my pocket, but they will be plugged with that, no, you are not eligible, or you need to submit a letter of guarantee, or it's like advanced payment, like you will pay from your pocket and then you will reimburse after 2-3 years. So in this case, they give up, and it will be better for them to import the technology from abroad, use it, get the investment, and that's it. And this would kill the opportunities for the small, medium-sized enterprises. So we learned it at the time of the COVID that we are not changing the rules of the game, but the whole game has been changed. So we need to have a look and to speak more with the policymakers in our countries and in the region to adapt this, the old tool that we used to use over the last decades, because it is not accepted or adapted for the current situation that we have anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the online speakers like to answer the question too?
If I may, Ananda, I would add that one of the sectors that is very interesting to explore today is any kind of circularity. Basically, large companies are looking for ways to improve their whole supply chain and include circularity much more in the ways they produce and commercialize products, and also in the post-service afterwards. So anything that has to do with a solution that will save material or resources to an existing established company has a future. And that opens also the door to a different type of financing that we are rarely exploring, which is basically being financed by your clients who are interested in your solution. They can provide debt, they could provide other forms of advancing payments, etc., which will be much more favorable than your bank. And they will not necessarily require very high guarantees because they are actually interested in this work. So this is, for me, the two opportunities that I see that are little explored and that are definitely worth exploring. I mean, you have these days people like, I don't know, I'm thinking of Hewlett-Packard, for example, which is looking for any kind of solution that increases their circularity, any kind of thing that allows them to recycle old printers into something else, or recover materials to build new printers, etc., etc. And you can find an example of that in almost any industry. So the times are changing positively, I would say, for switchers, because actually the mainstream world is always coming in the direction. The question is how to be ready.
Yes, thank you very much. Eva, would you like to add?
Yeah, maybe I can address maybe this question about the blended finance, because indeed I think there is a lot of conversations about it. We also, as former EVPA, currently Impact Europe, we also kind of try to promote this approach where you connect or where you combine philanthropic or development finance, as some people call it concessional, right, as well, with private capital that can come from different type of investors that would have different type of interest in, or different type of risk appetite, let's say, right, and then also different interest rate. I mean, I am also one of the radicals saying that actually those big interest rates that are overall in commercial investment, they are just too high. And basically we are now in the stage where we are facing all those climate challenges and other problems because the whole world wanted to grow rapidly, people wanted to get super rich and so on. And we really have to start talking about more moderate rates of return that would create opportunity for different, developing countries or emerging markets, like in Africa, for example, to really catch up. And we cannot apply the same approach that is dominant in Western Europe. And even when I was at the VC Summit in Egypt a couple of weeks ago, and you meet all those people from venture capital funds, and they all talk about 20-30% and how fast they want to get rich, ideally on those poor startups, right, that are struggling to meet. So So I think, I mean, overall, I think as a sector, you know, whether we talk about green or more social investments, we really should preach more on more moderate returns, and everyone will be happy anyway, and we will be able to cover the inflation and the costs and so on. But we have to change the narrative at the global level in terms of how the finance works, because the way it has been working until now is just not sustainable. And I think this is where this blended finance approach gets into play, right? Where we think that it should be, and I was even at a climate summit last week in Dubai, and it's also, you know, this is the role for philanthropies. No, it's not only the role for the philanthropists to provide the grants, to provide the risking capital. It should be also the government, because governments in many countries all over the world have been subsidizing companies and corporate sector for years to grow, and we kind of seem to forget about it, right? That many companies that are today big, large corporates, whether they are America-based companies or European companies, they have been largely subsidized and supported by the governments and by the state through different schemes. And suddenly, to support impact businesses or green entrepreneurs, we have to go and beg all those now, you know, guys who made money on those subsidies as well. Now we have to go and beg them to provide this philanthropic capital so we can de-risk the private capital of the guys that want to make so much money on you know, now fixing the world. So I think there is something wrong, you know, and if we agree to this, if we agree to those terms, you know, and we follow this narrative, then we will always talk about the gaps. We will always talk about the lack of financing for those micro entrepreneurs, micro businesses, right? Because it shouldn't work like that, right? So I'm calling to all of you, you know, who are working on finance, to try to challenge the existing models. I mean, it doesn't hurt. And we see that actually, even in our community among EVP members, we see actually there is a quite positive response, you know, to this call, let's say, that we should think about the growth. And it doesn't mean that now all the world should stop economic growth. No, because we need economic growth, but it should be more moderate, more sustainable, right? With a kind of a conscious that we really did a lot of destruction, mainly Western European countries, the developed world right now. So, you know, that would be my response. So blended finance, you know, development capital, but also the private capital, institutional capital that should come with bigger risk appetite as well, because investing in some of the countries in the emerging economies, it is risky, but it means also that there is a high potential for growth and there is a high potential to achieve really big impact. So that would be my couple of rebellious cents to the conversation.
Thank you very much. It's from my side, I couldn't agree more. We have to change the narrative, and this is why what we are doing right now, no, by coming all together and sharing this. Thank you so much. I think Eric also wanted to.
Tough act to follow. That very tough act to follow. I shouldn't have waited to go last. Well, so maybe one sort of philosophical point and one very practical one regarding your questions. On the philosophical side, to kind of complement what's already been said, I like to say that the impact sector is kind of they're the garbage collectors of society. So you have all of these other segments of society that are producing lots of damage and producing lots of waste, so to speak, that are damaging the environment, that are provoking socioeconomic inequality, leading to, anyway, all of the ravages of our society are put on a specific subsector. So this is philanthropy's job. This is the impact sector. This is nonprofits. This is social enterprises. Function is to clean up the mess that other people made. With the arrival and like ESG is a step in the right direction in terms of putting that responsibility back on the people that are doing the most damage, whether that's from a geographic or sectoral or what have you perspective. And I think there's interesting angles that can be explored on that front. So aside from, let's say, carbon trading, which is a hotly debated issue, but there are other financing angles that that could work along those lines to say, all right, what kind of partnerships can we establish? For example, we're talking about circularity, multinationals in, let's say, fast-moving consumer goods that are desperate to find ways to integrate circularity into their very, very wasteful product life cycles. Here you have opportunities for funding. Another sort of parallel angle that I'd maybe throw in terms of things that I think are worth exploring on this front is in some markets, these are very well developed, but in, we'll say, the Southern Mediterranean, they're relatively rare, is different types of, we'll say, risk sharing and repayment schemes. So factoring, which is basically loans based off of an invoice. There's a study that came out not that long ago in Morocco, and I know it's the case in a lot of other regional economies. The average invoice for an SME in Morocco takes 200 days to pay. That's like, you go out of business in that period of time. So solutions like factoring that are, we'll say, incentivize commercial development, I think could be very interesting ones. There are also models like revenue sharing and royalties that I think are extremely underdeveloped in the region. I mean, if it works for Hollywood, then I don't see why we can't get it to work for green ventures. But I think it's an interesting sort of middle that gives you a setup for risk sharing. So for example, revenue sharing, royalties, you are sharing risk with your funder, but you are not, on the funder side, you're not, let's say, an investor who has to wait X years to be able to cash out because they're probably not getting dividends in the first couple of years. Revenue sharing model gives you that opportunity to get some returns in the short term. It allows you to share risk, and it also gives the ventures the opportunity to maintain control. So the guarantees are your books, and revenue share as opposed to royalties. It's one thing to hide profits. It's very, very difficult to hide revenue. So it could be a potential win-win situation. So to recap that little ramble, I think there are interesting angles to take that are financing that is focused on supporting commercial development, rather than we have these kind of market distortions at this point where fundraising is kind of an alternative to commercial development. Like, well, we can just raise more funds, we can take on more loans, we can take on more equity investors, and then we don't actually have to care about what our business model looks like because there's cash coming in from other places. So if you link those two, you have more sustainable forms of financing, and ones that lead to, fewer market deformations and more sustainable ventures, inshallah, at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. I think those were very good 2 cents. Unless there is any other question from the audience here or online, I think we would be finalizing just in time. So that's an achievement. Yes. Okay. So thank you so much for coming. And in case you're interested, I think we recorded the session and we will put it on our YouTube channel. So yeah, in case you want to revisit some of these very interesting ideas and initiatives. And I really want to thank you all the speakers for their contribution. It was really insightful to hear from you and to learn a lot. Have a good evening, everyone.